The stars had been quiet for 300 years, and the galaxy liked it that way. The great galactic empire ruled over thousands of worlds with 4 powerful alien races, keeping everything in perfect order. The Vortani were the warriors, tall and blue, with skin like metal and voices that could shatter glass. The Skrell were the builders, insect creatures with 4 arms and minds that could calculate faster than any computer. The Nethek were the travelers, breathing poisonous gas and flying ships that could cross the galaxy in days. The Yulani were the speakers, reading minds and sending thoughts across space without any machines. Each race had their place and their power, and no one dared to challenge them. The galaxy was their empire, and they had forgotten what it felt like to be afraid. Captain Dae-Hyun Kim stood on the Bridge of the Souls, pride, looking out at the massive space station that hung in the darkness like a metal moon. He had trained for this moment his entire life, leading the first human diplomatic mission to meet the rulers of the galaxy. His crew of 50 humans had practiced their speeches and prepared their gifts, hoping to join this great civilization as friends. The space station was bigger than any city on Earth, made of black metal that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Thousands of alien ships moved around it like insects around a hive, each one larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. The humans had traveled for 6 months to reach this place at the edge of known space where the Vortani held court. Dae-Hyun wore his best uniform, dark blue with gold trim, and carried a briefcase filled with examples of human art, music, and literature. He believed that showing the aliens what humanity could create would prove they deserved a place among the stars. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Bo Young Lee, stood beside him, equally nervous but trying to hide it. The docking bay of the alien station was enormous, with ceilings that disappeared into shadows above. Dozens of different alien species worked there, loading and unloading cargo from ships that came from every corner of the galaxy. The humans walked carefully through crowds of beings they had only seen in their wildest dreams. Some aliens were tall and thin, with too many joints in their arms and legs. Others were short and covered in fur, with eyes that glowed in the dim light. There were creatures that floated instead of walking, and others that seemed to be made of living rock. The diversity was amazing, but also intimidating to Vortani. Guards met them at the entrance to the inner station. They were 8 feet tall, with blue skin that looked like polished metal, and wore armor that seemed to be part of their bodies. Their faces were angular and sharp, with eyes that burned like blue fire. They carried weapons that hummed with energy and looked at the humans like they were studying insects. The guards led them through corridors that stretched for miles past windows that showed the vastness of space and the power of the empire. The walls were covered with symbols and writings in languages that humans could not read, telling stories of conquest and glory that spanned thousands of years. Finally, they reached the throne room, a chamber so large that its walls faded into darkness. Admiral Torix sat on a throne made of what looked like crystallized starlight, his massive form radiating authority and menace. He was the largest Vortani the humans had ever seen, with scars across his face that spoke of countless battles. His voice, when he spoke, was like the grinding of metal against stone. Behind him stood representatives of the other 3 races: a Skrell with cybernetic implants covering half its insect head, a Nethek in a breathing suit that hissed with every breath, and a Yulani whose large eyes seemed to look directly into their souls. Admiral Torix studied the humans for a long moment before speaking, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "You are the creatures from the world called Earth," he said, the words dripping with contempt. "You have come here seeking what exactly?" Captain Dae-Hyun stepped forward, his heart pounding, but his voice steady. "We come seeking friendship and trade, Admiral. We offer our knowledge of science and medicine, our art and culture, and our desire to contribute to the galactic community." The Admiral laughed, a sound like breaking glass that made the humans wince. "Friendship," he repeated, as if the word tasted bad. "Trade with primitives who still use chemical rockets and metal bullets? What could you possibly offer us that we do not already possess?" The human captain opened his briefcase and began to display the items they had brought. A painting of Earth from space showing the blue marble that was their homeworld. A recording of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony that had moved humans to tears for centuries. A book of poetry written in a dozen human languages. The Skrell representative clicked its mandibles, and what might have been amusement, these crude representations of beauty, mean nothing to us, it said in a voice like buzzing insects. We have art that can reshape reality itself and music that can make stars dance. The Nethic spoke through its breathing apparatus, its voice distorted. "An alien, your science is laughable," it hissed. "We mastered faster than light travel when your species was still learning to make fire." The Yulani simply stared at the humans, its large eyes unblinking. "I have read their thoughts," it said in a voice like whisper. "They are weak and divided, always fighting among themselves. They have no unity, no purpose, no strength." Admiral Torex leaned forward on his throne, his blue eyes burning with contempt. "Look at you," he said, small and soft, with no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. You cannot read minds like the Yulani. You cannot calculate like the Skrell. You cannot survive in space like the Nethic. You cannot fight like the Vortani. What makes you think you deserve a place among the great races?" Captain De Hyan felt anger rising in his chest, but forced himself to remain calm. "We may not have your natural gifts, Admiral, but we have something else. We have determination and the ability to adapt to any situation. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars that would have destroyed other species. We have learned to work together despite our differences." The Admiral stood up from his throne, his full height making him tower over the humans like a living mountain. "Determination," he sneered. "Adaptation. Those are the qualities of vermin, not of a civilized species. Here is what we offer you. Humans submit to slavery, and we might allow some of your kind to live to serve us. You will work in our mines and factories, and your children will be raised to obey us without question." The silence in the throne room was deafening. The human delegation exchanged glances, each seeing the shock and anger in the other's faces. They had come offering friendship and been offered Chainsway. "Respectfully decline," Captain De Hyan said, his voice steady despite the rage building inside him. "Then you have chosen extinction," Admiral Torex declared, his voice booming through the chamber. "We will send our fleets to your pathetic little system and burn every world you have ever touched. Your species will serve as an example to any other primitives who might dare to challenge the natural order." The human captain straightened his shoulders and looked directly into the Admiral's burning eyes. "That is your choice, Admiral, but I think you should know something about humans. We do not surrender easily. You will learn," Admiral Torex said with finality. "Guards, escort these creatures back to their ship and make sure they understand they have 1 month to prepare for their destruction." As the humans were led back through the corridors of the station, Captain De Hyan activated a hidden recording device in his uniform. Everything that had been said was now being transmitted back to Earth. The leaders of humanity would know exactly what was coming. Lieutenant Bio Young Lee walked beside him, her face pale but determined. "So," she whispered, "what do we do now?" "We go home," De Hyan replied, "and we tell them what happened. Then we prepare for war." The Soul's Pride departed the alien station and jumped into hyperspace, carrying news that would change humanity forever. The aliens watched them go, believing they had just solved a minor problem by threatening a primitive species. They had no idea that they had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. They thought they were dealing with a weak and divided species that would crumble at the first sign of real force. Instead, they had just given humanity exactly what it needed to unite completely for the first time in its existence, a common enemy. The Battle of Neptune became the turning point that no alien strategist had predicted. The combined fleet of 2,000 alien ships had been reduced to fewer than 800 survivors, and they now faced something that challenged every assumption they had about warfare. Admiral Torex stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, watching the tactical display with growing despair. The humans had not simply defeated his fleet, they had systematically dismantled it using tactics that seemed to come from a nightmare. The human ships moved through space like living creatures, each one supporting the others in patterns that adapted in real time to alien responses. They fought as if they shared a single mind, coordinating attacks across vast distances with precision that seemed impossible. Captain Sung-Ho Lee commanded the human task force that had cornered the alien fleet near Neptune, his converted cargo vessel now bristling with weapons that combined human engineering with alien technology. "You are looking in the wrong place," he broadcast to the alien fleet as hundreds of human ships emerged from hidden positions throughout the system. The humans had been preparing for this battle for months, hiding ships behind asteroids In the shadows of moons and in stealth positions that had been maintained for weeks, they had turned the entire Neptune system into a trap. But the most shocking discovery came when the aliens realized that the humans were not trying to destroy the remaining alien ships. They were systematically crippling and capturing them, learning from each vessel they took. Dr. Yoon Young Kim had led the crash program to upgrade human technology using captured alien components. The results were revolutionary. Hybrid weapons that combined the best of both civilizations. The human ships now moved with the speed and maneuverability of alien vessels, but they retained the durability and reliability that characterized human engineering. They could take damage that would destroy alien ships and continue fighting. "This is not a battle," hive mind Zeth whispered as it watched its advanced Skrell vessels being systematically captured and studied. "This is a science experiment." The aliens had made a fundamental error in their understanding of human warfare. They had assumed that humans would fight like they did, with overwhelming force applied to achieve quick victory. Instead, humanity was fighting the way they had always fought, by learning, adapting, and gradually turning their enemies' strengths against them. Every captured ship provided new technology. Every intercepted communication revealed alien weaknesses. Lieutenant Commander Yoo-Jin Park led the boarding party that captured a Nethek command vessel intact. The information they gathered included complete navigation databases, communication codes, and tactical manuals. "This is boarding Team 7, she reported as her team secured the alien bridge. "We have downloaded their entire database. The next phase can begin." The next phase was something that terrified every alien commander in the fleet. The humans began using captured alien ships against their former owners. Human crews piloted Vortani cruisers with devastating effectiveness, because they understood both the ship's capabilities and their weaknesses. Captain J1KO commanded a captured Skrell science vessel that had been modified with human weapon systems. The hybrid ship was faster than any human vessel and more durable than any alien ship. The psychological effect on the alien fleet was devastating. They were being killed by their own technology, operated by an enemy that seemed to learn and adapt faster than any species they had ever encountered. By the end of the battle, the alien fleet had lost 1,800 ships, while the humans had lost only 300. But more importantly, the aliens had lost their technological advantage. Captain Hyun-Woo Choi, commanding the human pursuit force, sent a transmission that would become legendary throughout the galaxy. "This is humanity. We are coming for your homeworlds. Surrender now, and we will discuss terms." The surviving alien ships fled toward their home systems, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The humans were not content with defending their territory. They were pursuing a campaign of total warfare designed to eliminate the alien threat permanently. On Vortani Prime, the High Council received the battle reports with growing panic. Council leader Vex studied the casualty figures with disbelief. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We had overwhelming superiority in numbers and technology." The military advisor's voice was grim. "Sir, the humans do not fight like any species we have encountered. They learn from every engagement. They adapt their tactics faster than we can counter them. And they never stop coming." The mathematics were becoming terrifyingly clear. The alien races had lost over 1,500 ships in the Neptune battle, while humanity had captured enough alien technology to build a fleet that rivaled their own. But the real horror was yet to come. Human ships began appearing throughout the galaxy, not as invaders but as scouts. They observed alien defenses, cataloged weaknesses, and prepared for the systematic conquest of every world. The aliens controlled. Admiral Torax, now commanding the pitiful remnants of the once mighty alien fleet, sent increasingly desperate messages to the other races. "They fight like a virus," he reported, "spreading through our territory and consuming everything in their path." The Skrell attempted to negotiate a separate peace, sending a diplomatic mission to the human fleet under a flag of truce. The representative was met by Ambassador Woo-Jin Park aboard the flagship. "Indomitable, we acknowledge that we underestimated your species," the Skrell diplomat said, its mechanical voice trembling. "What are your terms for ending this conflict, Ambassador?" Park's response would be remembered throughout galactic history. "You did not underestimate us. You fundamentally misunderstood what we are. We are not a warrior species. We are a survival species. The difference was terrifying. Warriors fought until They won or lost. Survival species fought until they were the only ones left. The human fleet that emerged from the Neptune battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It combined human determination with alien technology, human tactics with alien speed, human durability with alien firepower. Captain Minsu Yoon stood on the bridge of the newly constructed battleship Vengeance, watching the fleet assemble for the next phase of the campaign. The ship itself was a testament to human engineering, prowess built using captured alien technology, but designed according to human principles. The vessel was not beautiful, but it was absolutely functional. Every system had multiple backups. Every weapon could be quickly repaired or replaced, and the armor was designed to ablate under fire rather than shatter. All ships report ready for the assault on Vortani Prime, he announced to the fleet. The siege was about to begin. The aliens had started this war believing they were dealing with a primitive species that would surrender at the first sign of overwhelming force. Instead, they had awakened something that treated galactic warfare as advanced training exercises. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their numbers, it was their absolute refusal to accept defeat. The final phase of the war was beginning, and the aliens were about to discover what happened when you threatened the survival of a species that had spent millions of years perfecting the art of not dying. The first battle came exactly 1 month after the ultimatum. Admiral Torx led a fleet of 500 ships toward the edge of the solar system, expecting to find a desperate and disorganized defense. Instead, he found something that confused his tactical computers. 50 human ships waited in formation near the orbit of Pluto, tiny metal specks compared to the massive alien vessels that approached them. The alien ships were each the size of small cities covered in armor that could withstand the heat of stars and armed with weapons that could crack planets. "This will be over in minutes, Admiral," Torx said to his bridge crew as they watched the pathetic human formation through their sensors. "They are not even trying to retreat, perhaps. They know that resistance is futile." The Vortani admiral had fought dozens of battles against primitive species, and they all followed the same pattern. The aliens would demonstrate their overwhelming power. The primitives would realize they could not win, and then they would surrender, begging for mercy. But as the two fleets closed the distance, something unexpected happened. The human ships did not fire their weapons in the careful, disciplined volleys that civilized species used. Instead, they began accelerating directly toward the alien fleet at maximum speed. "What are they doing?" demanded the Skrell tactical officer, its insect eyes studying the sensor readings. "They are on collision courses with our ships." Captain Yong Ho Kim stood on the bridge of the destroyer Soul's Revenge as it hurtled toward a Vortani cruiser that was 50 times its size. His crew of 30 humans worked calmly at their stations, each one knowing exactly what was about to happen. "All hands prepare for ramming speed," he announced over the ship's communication system. "Remember, we are not trying to survive this battle. We are trying to make sure they remember the price of fighting humanity." The nuclear reactor that powered the Soul's Revenge was not just an engine, it was a weapon. When the ship struck the alien cruiser, both vessels disappeared in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth, but the explosion did more than destroy two ships. It sent a message that echoed across the alien fleet. The humans were not fighting to win, they were fighting to make the cost of victory unbearable. Lieutenant Commander Bio Ram Choi, piloting a small fighter, watched the alien flagship through her targeting systems. The massive Vortani dreadnought was protected by energy shields that could stop any conventional weapon, but she was not carrying conventional weapons. The nuclear warhead attached to her fighter was a relic from Earth's violent past, a weapon that civilized species had abandoned centuries ago, but humans had never forgotten how to build things that could destroy entire cities. "You wanted to see what humans do when you threaten our families," she said into her communicator as she armed the warhead. "This is humanity saying hello." The explosion that followed destroyed her fighter and crippled the alien flagship, but it also did something more important. It showed every alien in the fleet that humans were willing to trade their lives at exchange rates that made no sense to civilized minds. On the bridge of the Vortani flagship, Admiral Torx watched his tactical display with growing horror. His fleet was taking massive losses, not from superior weapons or brilliant tactics, but from an enemy that seemed to have no regard for their own survival. "How many ships have we lost?" he demanded in 87. "Sir," in Rising replied his tactical officer, "the humans are using suicide attacks against our most valuable vessels." "And how many of them have we killed?" the officer hesitated before answering. "Approximately 3,000. Sir Admiral Torax felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career: genuine fear. He commanded the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, but he was losing to an enemy that fought like rabid animals. The real shock came when human reinforcements began arriving in the system. The aliens had destroyed 50 human ships, but 200 more jumped out of hyperspace to replace them. These were not military vessels, they were converted cargo ships, mining vessels, and passenger liners that had been fitted with weapons and armor. Captain Tae-young Shin commanded a converted ore hauler that had been transformed into a mobile weapons platform. In just 3 weeks, his crew was made up of miners, engineers, and technicians who had volunteered to fight rather than hide in the deep shelters. "This is the Earth vessel." Determined, he broadcast to the alien fleet, "We are here to finish what you started." The second wave of human ships fought with lessons learned from the first battle. They used their smaller size and superior maneuverability to avoid the aliens' main weapons while targeting critical systems with surgical precision. The aliens had built their ships to fight other civilized species in honorable combat between organized fleets. The humans fought like pack hunters, circling their prey and striking at weak points until their enemy collapsed. By the end of the first day, the alien fleet had lost nearly half its ships. The survivors retreated to the outer edge of the system, sending desperate messages to their home worlds. "This is Admiral Torax of the Vortani fleet," the transmission began. "We have encountered unexpected resistance from the human species. Request immediate reinforcements and authorization to use planet-killing weapons." The response from the Vortani High Command was swift and angry. "You were sent to crush a primitive species, not to engage in a prolonged battle. Complete your mission or face court-martial." But Admiral Torax was beginning to understand something that his superiors had not yet grasped. The humans were not fighting a war in any sense that civilized species understood. They were fighting an extinction event, and they were very good at it. Captain Hyun-Soo Lee stood in the command center, buried deep beneath the Korean peninsula, watching the tactical display that showed the entire solar system. The alien fleet was regrouping, but human reinforcements were arriving from every corner of human space. "They expected us to fight like them," he said to his staff officers. "Organized fleets meeting in open battle with clear objectives and honorable surrender when defeat was inevitable. Instead, we are fighting like humans." The aliens had made a critical error in their assessment of humanity. They had looked at human history and seen a species that fought constantly among themselves. What they had failed to understand was that those fights had been training exercises, preparing humanity for a war that would determine the survival of their species. General Hansal Lee reviewed the casualty reports from the first battle with grim satisfaction. Humanity had lost 12,000 people in the engagement, but they had taught the aliens a lesson that would spread throughout the galaxy. The price of fighting humanity was higher than any civilized species was willing to pay. The second battle would begin in 18 hours, and the aliens were about to learn that the first engagement had been just a warm-up exercise. Humanity was preparing to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of when their survival was threatened. The war had begun, and the aliens were already losing. The emergency meeting of the 4 alien races took place on the neutral world of Centauri, Prima, planet that had served as a diplomatic center for 1,000 years. The representatives of the Vortani, Skrell, Nefek, and Yulani gathered in the ancient council chamber where they had divided the galaxy among themselves. Centuries ago, hive mind Zeth of the Skrell spoke first, its mechanical voice echoing through the chamber. "We have analyzed the battle reports from the solar system. These humans fight with a ferocity that defies all logic. They sacrifice their own lives to destroy our ships at ratios that should not be possible." Nethek ambassador floated in its environmental suit, the poisonous gas it breathed hissing with each word. "Our intelligence networks report that the human homeworld has been completely converted to military production in just 6 weeks. Every factory, every laboratory, every resource has been turned toward the war." Effort Ambassador Yex of the Yuani sat motionless, her large eyes reflecting the terrible knowledge she had gained from reading human minds during the battle. "What I found in their thoughts terrifies me," she said in her whisper-soft voice. "They do not fear death the way we do. They see it as an acceptable price for victory. They are not fighting for territory or resources. They are fighting for the continuation of their species." Admiral Torex stood before the council, his blue skin scarred from the recent battle, his voice heavy with the weight of defeat. "I commanded the greatest fleet in Vortani history, 500 ships with firepower, enough to destroy entire star systems, and I lost half of them to 50 primitive vessels." The silence that followed was broken by the Skrell representative. "We must combine our forces," it declared a threat. "This dangerous requires the full might of all four races working together." The decision was made quickly, driven by fear rather than wisdom. The four alien races would assemble the largest fleet in galactic history, over 2,000 ships representing the combined military might of their entire civilization. Surely no species, no matter how determined, could stand against such overwhelming force on Earth. The news of the approaching alien superfleet was received with calm determination. Fleet Admiral Haijin Yu stood in the command center watching the holographic display that showed human forces throughout the solar system. "They are committing everything to one massive attack," she observed. "They still do not understand what they are fighting." Commander Minkyuo, her chief of staff, activated the defensive grid that had been constructed around Earth in the weeks following the first battle. The planet was now surrounded by orbital weapons platforms, each one designed to engage multiple targets simultaneously. "Operation Endurance is ready, Admiral," he reported. "All civilian populations have been evacuated to the deep shelters. Industrial production is at maximum capacity and our new weapons systems are coming online." DRSAO Junquano entered the command center carrying a data tablet that contained information that would change the course of the war. "The hybrid weapon systems are complete, Admiral," he announced. "We have successfully combined human engineering with captured alien technology. The results were revolutionary. Human weapons that could penetrate alien shields, alien sensors that could track human stealth technology, and most importantly, communication systems that could intercept and decode alien transmissions. But the greatest achievement was something the aliens could never have imagined. Humanity had turned their entire species into a single coordinated military unit. Every human being, from the colonies on Mars to the mining stations in the asteroid belt, was connected through a communication network that allowed instant coordination across the entire solar system." Captain Dongwook Kim stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable watching the final preparations for battle. The ship itself was a masterpiece of human engineering, built in just 8 weeks using techniques that would have been impossible before the war. The vessel was not beautiful like alien ships. Instead, it was functional and durable, designed to take massive damage and continue fighting. It bristled with weapons that could be quickly repaired or replaced, and its armor was constructed from materials that could withstand direct hits from alien energy weapons. "All stations report ready for battle," he announced to his crew. "Remember our mission. We are not trying to win a single engagement. We are trying to teach the galaxy that humanity is too expensive to fight." The alien fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system in perfect formation, 2,000 ships arranged in battle groups that had been proven effective against every enemy they had ever faced. The sight was magnificent and terrifying, representing the full military might of galactic civilization. Admiral Torex, now commanding the combined fleet, studied the tactical display with growing confidence. The humans had only managed to assemble 400 ships to defend their home system. The odds were 5-1 in favor of the aliens. "This time we will not underestimate them," he declared to his mixed crew of aliens from all four races. "We will use overwhelming force to crush their resistance quickly and completely." But as the alien fleet advanced toward Earth, something unexpected happened. The human ships did not form defensive lines around their planet. Instead, they scattered throughout the system using hit-and-run tactics that made it impossible for the aliens to use their superior firepower effectively. Captain Esung-ho Lee commanded a squadron of converted mining ships that had been fitted with stealth technology. They hid in the asteroid belt, waiting for the alien fleet to pass before launching surprise attacks on their supply ships. The Aliens had prepared for a conventional battle between organized fleets, but the humans were fighting a guerrilla war that turned the entire solar system into a battlefield. Lieutenant Commander Eugene Park led a boarding party that captured an alien communication ship intact. The information they gathered revealed the location of alien reinforcement fleets and allowed human forces to intercept them. Before they could reach Earth, the battle lasted for 3 days, and when it was over, the aliens had lost over 1,000 ships, while the humans had lost only 200. The mathematics were becoming clear to every alien commander. At this rate of exchange, the alien races would run out of ships long before humanity ran out of people. But the real shock came when the humans began pursuing the retreating alien fleet. Captain Hyun-woo Choi, commanding a task force of human ships that had been hidden throughout the system, sent a message that would echo through galactic history. "This is humanity," he broadcast to the fleeing aliens. "We are coming for your homeworlds. Surrender now, and we will discuss terms." The threat was not empty. Human ships equipped with captured alien navigation systems began appearing in star systems throughout the galaxy. They did not attack immediately. Instead, they observed and learned, mapping alien defenses and identifying targets. The 4 alien races realized with growing horror that they were no longer fighting a defensive war. The humans had gone on the offensive, and they were bringing the fight to every world. The aliens controlled the galaxy was about to learn that humanity did not fight wars to win territory or resources. They fought wars to ensure that their enemies could never threaten them again. The escalation had begun, and there was no going back. 6 months after the Battle of Neptune, the galaxy had learned a terrible lesson about the consequences of threatening humanity. The 4 alien races that had once ruled with absolute authority now found themselves fighting a losing war against an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with each engagement. The siege of Vortani Prime had lasted for 3 months, and the outcome was never in doubt. The human fleet, commanded by Admiral Haijin Yu, had surrounded the alien homeworld with over 500 ships, each one equipped with weapons that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. Admiral Torax, trapped on the planet's surface with the remnants of his once mighty fleet, sent increasingly desperate messages to the other alien races. "They do not fight like any species we have ever encountered," he reported. "They do not seek quick victory. They are conducting a systematic campaign to eliminate our ability to ever threaten them again." The siege demonstrated something that terrified every alien military strategist in the galaxy. The humans were not interested in capturing territory or resources. They were methodically destroying every military installation, every shipyard, every training facility that could potentially be used to rebuild the alien war machine. Captain Jae-Sung Kim commanded the human blockade fleet from the bridge of the battleship Determination. His ship was a masterpiece of hybrid technology, combining the speed and maneuverability of alien vessels with the durability and firepower that characterized human engineering. "This is the Earth vessel Determination," he broadcast to the alien planet below. "We are here to finish what you started. When you are ready to surrender unconditionally, we will discuss terms." The terms, when they finally came, were not what any alien species had expected. Humanity did not want to rule the galaxy. They wanted to ensure that no species would ever again possess the ability to threaten human survival. Dra. Re. Yoon, now serving as humanity's chief xenobiologist, had conducted extensive studies of each alien race, their psychology, their biology, their social structures, their military capabilities. Everything had been cataloged and analyzed. "We understand them better than they understand themselves," she reported to the Human War Council. "Their strengths, their weaknesses, their fears, their motivations. We have mapped every aspect of their civilization." The knowledge was being used to devastating effect. Human psychological warfare specialists broadcast messages designed to demoralize alien populations, while human engineers developed weapons specifically tailored to exploit the weaknesses of each species. The Skrull, with their hive mind structure, were vulnerable to communications disruption that could sever the connections between individual drones and their controlling queens. The Nethik, with their dependence on artificial breathing systems, could be incapacitated by attacks on their life support infrastructure. The Yulani, with their telepathic abilities, were susceptible to psychic feedback weapons that turned their greatest strength into a crippling weakness. and the Vortani with their warrior culture were driven to despair by tactics. That made their martial prowess irrelevant, but the most shocking development came when the Skrell attempted to negotiate a separate peace. Their representative approached the human flagship under a flag of truce, hoping to save their species from complete destruction. Ambassador Wu Jin Park met the alien diplomat in the conference room of the Indomitable, surrounded by holographic displays showing the current state of the galactic war. We acknowledge that we underestimated your species, the Skrell representative said, its mechanical voice filled with what might have been fear. What are your terms for ending this conflict, Ambassador? Park's response would be remembered for generations. You did not underestimate us, you fundamentally misunderstood what we are. We are not a warrior species, we are a survival species. The difference is that warriors fight until they win or lose. We fight until we are the only ones left. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not seeking to conquer the galaxy. They were seeking to ensure that no species would ever again threaten their existence. This meant the complete elimination of all 4 alien races. As military powers, the war continued for another year, but the outcome was never in doubt. The alien homeworlds fell one by one each conquest, demonstrating humanity's growing mastery of combined human and alien technology. The Vortani capital fell after a siege that lasted 4 months. The proud warrior race that had once ruled a quarter of the galaxy surrendered when their last battle fleet was destroyed in orbit above their homeworld, the Skrell. Hive minds went silent after human forces captured their queenships and severed the psychic links that held their civilization together. The once mighty builders of the galaxy became scattered drones wandering aimlessly through space. The Nethak retreated to their gas giant homeworlds and sealed themselves away from the rest of the galaxy. Their once proud merchant fleets were reduced to a handful of ships that never ventured beyond their own star systems. The Yulani suffered the most complete defeat of all human psychic warfare specialists had shattered their telepathic networks, leaving them unable to communicate across interstellar distances. Their civilization fragmented into isolated colonies that had no contact with each other. President Sujin Pak, now governing a galaxy-spanning human empire, stood before the new Galactic Council in the Great Hall that had once been the seat of alien power. The chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species that had been liberated from alien rule. We did not want this war, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the galaxy through the communication networks that humanity now controlled. But since you forced us to fight it, we fought it the only way we know how. Completely. The galaxy now operated under a simple principle that every species understood humanity was not to be threatened. They had demonstrated that they considered extinction-level dangers to be merely challenging training exercises. The former alien empire served as a permanent reminder of what happened when a species made the mistake of threatening human survival. Their scattered remnants lived under human supervision, stripped of their military capabilities, but allowed to continue existing as long as they posed no threat. Commander Chen Wu Kim patrolled the peaceful galaxy from his flagship, the Vigilant, a massive vessel that incorporated the best technology from all 5 major species. The ship was a symbol of humanity's new role as the guarantor of galactic peace. They called it a war, he said to his crew as they observed a trading convoy passing peacefully through what had once been contested space. But for us, it was just another day at the office. After all, everything we do is practice for the next time someone decides to threaten our species. The galaxy had learned that some species were too dangerous to fight, no matter how primitive they might appear. The lesson was written in the ruins of 4 great civilizations that had made the mistake of underestimating humanity. The war was over, but the legend of humanity's response to it would echo through the galaxy for millennia to come. They had turned what the aliens thought would be a quick extermination into a complete reversal of galactic power, and they had done it all while treating the greatest military challenge in galactic history as nothing more than an extended training exercise. The emergency session of the United Earth Council began 3 hours after the Soul's Pride returned to Earth. President Sujin Park stood at the center of the Great Hall, facing representatives from every nation on the planet. The recording of Admiral Torix's ultimatum had been played for everyone. and the silence that followed was heavy with understanding. "We have 1 month before their fleets arrive," President Park said, her voice calm but her eyes burning with determination. "They believe we are weak because we have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. They do not understand that we became the most dangerous species on our world not through claws or fangs, but through something far more terrifying." General Hansal Lee activated the massive holographic display that filled the center of the room, showing Earth's military assets scattered across the solar system. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier was represented by points of light that pulsed with readiness. "For 50 years we have been preparing for this day without knowing it," he said, his weathered face grim. "Every war game, every training exercise, every survival program has been building toward this moment. The aliens think they know what war is, but they have never faced an enemy that was forged in the fires of a death world." Dr. Min-Young Yoon stood up from her seat among the Science Council, her white lab coat a stark contrast to the military uniforms around her. "The aliens use energy weapons designed for quick, clean kills against enemies who surrender when badly hurt," she said with a cold smile. "They have never faced a species that considers taking massive damage and continuing to fight to be normal behavior." The truth was spreading through the room like wildfire. Humanity had not evolved on a peaceful world like the aliens had. Their planet had thrown everything at them: ice ages that lasted for millennia, volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun for years, meteor impacts that destroyed entire continents, predators that hunted in packs and could kill with a single bite, while other species had developed specialized abilities to survive in their comfortable environments. Humans had become the ultimate generalists. They could eat almost anything, survive in any climate, and most importantly, they could work together when everything was trying to kill them. Colonel Ji-hoon Park, commander of Earth's Special Forces, stood up, his scarred face showing the results of a lifetime of training in the most dangerous environments on Earth. "Sir," he said, addressing the president, "request permission to implement Protocol Omega." The room fell silent. Protocol Omega was humanity's ultimate war plan, developed in secret by the military's best minds. It assumed that any alien threat would be technologically superior and that conventional warfare would fail. It was designed not to win quick victories but to ensure human survival no matter the cost. President Park nodded slowly, knowing that once she gave this order there would be no going back. "Approved," she said. "Send the message to all colonies and orbital stations. Humanity is going to war, but this would not be the kind of war the aliens expected. While they prepared for battles between organized fleets with clear objectives and honorable surrender when defeat was inevitable, humanity was preparing for something they had perfected over millions of years of evolution: total species survival warfare." Captain Young Soo Kim received the Protocol Omega activation signal aboard the mining station Titan base. His crew of 200 miners and engineers immediately began converting their industrial equipment into weapons. Their massive rock crushers became projectile launchers. Their fusion torches became directed energy weapons. Their cargo haulers became assault ships on Mars. Colonel Yun-Hai Lee gathered her terraforming crews and began the most ambitious project in human history. They would turn the Red Planet into a fortress that could withstand orbital bombardment and serve as a fallback position if Earth fell. The construction robots that had been building cities began building bunkers and weapon emplacements. Instead, Dr. Taemin Choi, working in the research facility on Luna, made a discovery that would change everything while analyzing the alien technology from the Soul's Pride sensors. The aliens had made their ships beautiful and efficient, but they had also made them predictable. Their energy weapons followed specific patterns. Their shields operated on fixed frequencies. Their engines produced signatures that could be tracked across star systems. The information spread to every human facility in the solar system within days. Engineers were developing countermeasures, weapons designed specifically to exploit alien weaknesses and tactics that would turn the enemy's technological advantages against them. But the most important change was happening in the minds of humanity itself. The species that had spent centuries fighting each other over resources and territory suddenly had a common enemy. The differences between nations, cultures, and ideologies seemed meaningless when faced with extinction. Lieutenant Commander Bio Ram Choi stood in the Briefing room of the orbital defense platform, watching her mixed crew of former enemies work together. Russians and Americans, Chinese and Japanese, Koreans and Europeans, all united by the simple fact that they were human and something wanted to kill them. All the aliens had made a fundamental error in their assessment of humanity. They had looked at human conflicts and seen weakness and division. What they had actually seen was a species that used warfare as a form of evolution, constantly testing themselves against each other to become stronger. Commander Min-Q addressed the assembled fleet captains from his flagship, the Indomitable, a converted colony ship that now bristled with weapons. Listen carefully, he said, his voice carrying across the communication network. We are not trying to win a traditional war. We are trying to teach the galaxy that humanity is too expensive to fight the alien fleets we're already moving toward. Earth, confident in their overwhelming superiority, they had destroyed primitive species before and expected this to be no different, a quick demonstration of power followed by surrender. And then the business of enslaving the survivors. They had no idea that they were about to encounter something that had never existed in the galaxy before, an entire species that had turned itself into a single military unit. Every human being, from the youngest child to the oldest adult, had a role in the war effort. There were no civilians in this conflict. Only soldiers in different jobs. Dr. Seo Junquan made the final adjustments to the new weapon systems that would be deployed against the alien fleet. The humans had reverse-engineered alien technology, but they had not simply copied it. They had improved it using human engineering principles that emphasized durability and reliability over elegance. The result was weapons that were crude by alien standards but devastatingly effective. They could keep firing long after alien weapons overheated. They could take damage that would destroy alien systems, and they could be repaired by ordinary humans using basic tools. Captain Dongwook Kim stood on the bridge of his destroyer watching the final preparations for battle around him. His crew was young, most of them barely out of training, but they all understood what was at stake. This was not about territory or resources or politics. This was about the survival of everything they had ever known. The alien fleet would arrive in 6 days, and when they did, they would discover that humanity had spent that month doing something they were very good at: preparing for a fight that would determine whether their species lived or died. Admiral Torex and his allies thought they were about to crush a primitive species that would beg for mercy at the first sign of real violence. Instead, they were about to learn why humanity had become the apex predator on a world that had tried to kill them for millions of years. The war was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of when their survival was threatened.